So here's a homemade graph by yours truly of really, okay, we talk about genetic gain a lot. What's that really mean? Okay, so as breeders, we think about genetic gain not in 1 year. Like, okay, how much did my field yield this year versus last year? It's really over a period of years. And that's what I'm demonstrating here. Like on the bottom, you go from years 1 to 10. This is a 10-year snapshot. And the gain units are just, it doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3, you put your units on it, right? So in corn, I mean, how many of you have heard us talk about dihaploids before? Okay, you guys need to have more research people come around. So in corn, we implemented dihaploids here, I don't know, it's been a few years ago, but when we really implemented them, we talked about them a lot. Okay? So this red line here, this was what I would call the old way of breeding. And that was the rate of genetic gain. Like we made genetic gain. There was no doubt new hybrids were better than old hybrids. Okay? Nobody disputed that fact. Okay? When we started using dihaploid technology, it was like, okay, this is fun stuff, but how do you demonstrate that? Because you really couldn't demonstrate it in 1 year. It wasn't like when you had a new herbicide trait or a new insect trait, you can see that in 1 year. Genetic gain is really different. It's over a period of years. So this yellow line is really what I would call the dihaploid system. So we saw an improvement, but really, you're not really starting to see the benefit of that in the fields until now, because it's taken a few cycles of breeding to really see that. Okay? So with molecular markers, what we're able to do is that virtual step on the previous slide, we're essentially able to shave years off the whole breeding process. Okay? Now that doesn't mean we test in the field less than we did before, it's just that we breed a lot faster. Okay? So if you assume that marker selection is 50% as effective as testing in the field, so it's only half as good. Okay? So field testing is still better, but marker selection is only half as good. The fact that we can do it faster gives you this blue line of genetic gain. That's significant, especially when you compare it to where we were at, say, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So the data I showed you on the slide before that was markers are actually better than field testing in some cases. Okay. So this orange line, this is assuming they're equal. So that's how important speed is on this. So that's really the revolution. So where are we at on this whole journey? With dihaploids, we're probably down over here somewhere in terms of realizing delivery to the customer. For the molecular piece, and delivering it in fields, widespread, we're probably up over here. Okay. So that's really what we're starting to just see the real benefit across a large number of acres. Okay. Hence corn revolution. So now I got a pretty cool graph. Hopefully, I know some of you have seen this, but I really like this graph. I think it demonstrates a lot of things. Don't worry about the numbers. What we're going to look at here is trends. So what this is NCGA from 02 to 15. Okay. I should update it, but I haven't. Bottom slope here, right? This is U.S. corn yields. What's the trend? It's about 1.5 bushels per year. All right, so 1.5 bushels. Let's compare that to your first, second, third NCGA winners across the country. Okay. Of course, the line is higher, but again, for corn breeders, we care about rates of gain, right? So what's the rate of genetic gain here? It's about 5.5 bushels per acre. So you have from 1.5 to 5.5. Okay. Now people tell me, oh yeah, but that's good ground, different hybrids. Yes, I get all that. What's the main difference here? The difference is every hybrid has like a ceiling and a floor. And in NCGA situations, we don't let hybrids hit the floor. Okay. So for example, you have to have something bad happen to experience the floor of a hybrid, right? That's why floors are so hard to determine. Ceilings are high. Ceilings keep going higher and higher. But it's all about how we manipulate and how close we get to the floors, right? So we give you a 7 for brittle, 7, 8 for brittle, which is really good, and we don't get any wind events. You don't even realize the value of that because you never get close to the floor. It's like insurance you never cash in, right? Okay. This stuff down here, the floors are getting hit a lot. Okay. Whether that's drought, poor fertility, you name your economic issue, the floor is getting hit all the time here. This line, it's not getting hit as much. Okay. Why is that? It's genetics and it's management. Right? Okay. So that's overall. What does this what does this slope look like if you take away, in my opinion, one of the most limiting factors in corn production, which is water. Either not enough or too much. Okay? So if you go to the irrigated system, NCGA, if you can't read this, this is almost 13 bushels per year, genetic gain. That's per year. So in 10 years, that's 130 bushels. All right? When I saw this, I was kind of shocked, right? I was also pretty blown away when I saw 532 hit the scales, 2015. Then this year is 616, right? Isn't it right? 616 is the number? I do this for a living, and I never thought I'd see 600 bushel corn for a few more years. Okay? So for me, I think this really demonstrates something, unless you showed a graph very similar to this, where like the last 5 years it just really starts to spike. I think that's because the one thing we don't really, I think, appreciate for this genetic gain we're delivering, and then some of these genetics, is what I talked about before, the floor and the ceiling. The ceiling, as you can see, the ceiling is gonna get so high, right? But what's really gonna raise these rates of genetic gain that we actually realize is we're gonna be able to get the floors moved up, right? Because we always think yield, everything comes back to yield. But when we raise the floor on yield, we're raising the floor on roots, and we're gonna get rid of all these, what I call yield limiters, right? To me, that's the whole game. How do we control the yield limiters? Here we control the yield limiter of water, okay? Management factors, okay? Yield limiters, remember that. All right. So we are with this data, and then a few years ago, we started looking at like research data, okay? R4 or R5 impact type data. We said, boy, this is something special that's happening, okay? So bear with me here. So I've been doing this about 15 years. I had 10 years Pioneer, 5 years different company, all right? The majority of my career, this is what happened, all right? So the black bars are 6 bushel advantage. Green bars are over 10 bushel. Okay. I would say that is typical. When you advance a new product, at least in corn, we expect it to be, say, 5 bushels better. Okay. Is it better? Yes. Do you see the benefit in every single field from the old hybrid you're planting? No. Okay. When we launched the green ones, they're say 10 bushels better, exclusively throughout my 15 years, never launched one of those. When I come back a year later, everybody in the room is saying, bring me more of those. I want another one. That was better, because it's so much better you realize it. Okay. So for the most part of my career, ignore this, it was like 13, 14, 15, right? Majority of the advances were in that 5 bushel range. Were they better? Yes. Were they better all the time? No, we didn't see it. They weren't that much better. Okay. What really differentiated things was when you had these green ones, right? Remember we launched 1151? Okay. That was fun, right? Typically, big company like ours, we want to have, across all maturity zones, we want to have like 2 to 4 of those per year. Okay. Some years you might get 1. Some years you get more. Okay. Smaller companies, maybe it's 1 every 3 years. It's just, they come around, but they're not as fast as we want them. Okay. So in 16, we're looking at this, and we're like, oh boy. So fall 2016, we're looking at this type of data, and I'm like, man, I don't know. That's never happened before. Do you think it's real? Then we launched some of those products, and it's real. Okay. Then you see 17, 18, 19. The reason I really like this graph, and this is against a major competitor here, the reason I like this graph is because these black hybrids that used to be 80, 90% of our advancement classes, we don't advance those anymore. Unless there's a niche need there, we don't advance those. So moving forward, that's what gets me excited is every product we launch, the new ones, are in the green category. Where when I come back, talk to the same group of people a year from now, like, with RC you're talking about, that's really good. Then the next question is usually, why don't we have more supply of it? Right? But that's really the corn revolution, why we're talking about it so much, is we saw this fundamental change happen here about 15, 16. Boy, that genetic gain went through the roof. So, you're getting a lot of my opinion on this slide, but I think it's really important to understand as we move forward in terms of corn production, the question is, how do we take advantage of this genetic gain? Like, how do we take advantage of 616 bushel potential in 1197? And we all understand that that's not possible on every acre. But I think what is possible is to kind of move up this I call it a line of thinking, a mindset graph. Most of our lives, at least me, I've been in this diagnostic analytics set of, hey, why did that happen? I'm trying to look backwards. Why did that happen? Help me understand it moving forward. Here recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, we've really moved into this what I call predictive analytics. We're trying to predict what's going to happen. Okay, given this weather event, this fertility I want to put in there, what do I think the yields are going to be? What I think we'll probably move to very quickly is this really, how can I make it happen type mindset, prescriptive analytics. Ask that question, how do I get 273 bushels off those 30 acres over there? How do I do that? How do I make that happen? What do I need to do to make that happen? I don't want to get 300, I want to get 273. Because whatever economics I'm using, that's going to make me the most profitable, be 273. Maybe on the next field, it's 240. Maybe on the other field, it's 170. Okay. How do we make that happen? I really believe that's where we'll be. I think we'll have the flexibility with genetics. And that's what gets me excited as a corn breeder is, if we can get to this, then we can really start to leverage genetics. Because if I know exactly how a hybrid's going to be used, like to the T, how it's going to be used, boy, there's a lot of genetic potential there.
What tools are you predicting that we will use to do that?
So the question is, what tools am I predicting that will get us there? It's going to sound like a cop-out answer, but modeling is going to get us a long way. Okay? And kind of where we're headed here, to me, like the cutting-edge research is really understanding how a corn hybrid grows and how it responds to different management factors. And a lot of it's going to be weather. Okay? And then our ability to react in season to that. Okay? So a good example I'll give is like last August. So for me, I've spent my whole career in the West here. And what I like about the West is we don't get a lot of cloudy days. Right? We get some, but when we need something, we get some rain. But for the most part, the sun shines in July, August, right? Last year, for a lot of the West, the sun didn't shine in August. It shone a lot in September. We really didn't need it to, but in August, it didn't shine, okay? That fundamentally changed how hybrids finished, how they yielded, okay? 10 years from now, we're probably going to have the ability to understand, hey, our solar radiation is tracking so much below. Can we do anything different to account for that? Or how's it going to change my fall sustainability? Do I need to harvest earlier? Can I harvest a month later? Okay, can I save cost? Can I save drying cost? I harvest it a month later. We should have a better understanding of that based on models of how genetics interact with the environment. That's my prediction. It's a really good question.
It's on tape too.
Let's see. No, 10 years don't go back. All right, so the question I get a lot whenever I give talks is, okay, this is fine, you spit the company line, why isn't everybody doing this, okay? What makes pioneer breeding different? Okay, so suppose I'm going to throw up here's Chrome, because I can tell you from a corn breeder's perspective, Chrome is like the best Christmas present I ever got as a corn breeder. Because being a corn breeder, it's a little bit different than soy, but with corn, we start off breeding all conventional material, and then we put the GMOs in later. Okay? And there's nothing worse than breeding a line, getting to a certain stage, you put the GMO in, it's like, you know what, it don't work with that GMO. That was like a shot to the gut, you get something, you're like, you know what, Roundup just didn't like those genetics, I'm sorry. That sucks, to be honest with you, right? With Chrome, there's so fewer and less shots to the gut. It's wonderful. So what that really does is it really opens up the genetic portfolio, gives us more flexibility in what we want to deliver. So the germplasm base, and this sounds really cliche, for a corn breeder to get up here and say, you know what, the germplasm base really separates Pioneer apart, but I can tell you here it does. Okay. So like I said before, I've been here 10 years, it's 5 years outside. It's hard to describe the differences in germplasm, but it really comes back to a toolbox. Okay. You can be a great mechanic, but if you don't have any tools, you're not a mechanic. Okay. You're not. If you don't have any tools, you're not a mechanic. So the difference, between organizations, groups, in terms of the genetic tools available, it really is the difference between, like one socket set sitting in the back of your truck versus, a full NASCAR garage. It really is that different. It's probably the best analogy I can give. Okay? This last part here is really important to me because I highlighted it at the local level, right? So I think it's really important. Fundamentally, we breed a little bit differently in Pioneer than a lot of other competitors. And I believe we have much more, like my job is at the local level. I'm not really judged on how Indiana, Illinois does. It's really the Western Corn Belt. Me, my team, we're focused on this. What does that allow us to do? It allows us to focus on traits that are important, okay, to the west. Drought tolerance, heat tolerance, Gossip, brittle snap, fusarium, bacterial leaf streak, southern rust. Things that are important locally, we can focus on those. Okay. So I can tell you, when I start talking about fusarium irrot, Gossip will, drought tolerance, as I go east, people start nodding off. Right? Happens every time. Right? That's why I like the system we have now. It allows me and my team to really focus on those things that are important so we can deliver them. But unless said perfectly, the customers and then the customers of customers.